For all the hype around Battlefield 6, I'd say it is truly well deserved. Battlefield is back. I'm very much surprised that both the early access and the launch were mostly clean launches and mostly bug-free compared to previous releases going back to Battlefield Bad Company 2. I'd say mostly clean because the EA app users couldn't play multiplayer for a few hours due to some issue on EA's side, while everyone else, console and PC platforms, could. It was kind of funny, after all, it's the official app, but it took a few hours to get resolved. Okay, let's get this out of the way. We're gonna go to the single player, and I think IGN is right about the single player experience. It's a hot take, I know, and probably you're not gonna like it, and there's gonna be a little bit of spoilers ahead. I think that most missions are linear, very few have actually different ways to approach the objective. Ironic, as this is Battlefield, it's supposed to be about open spaces. The worst part of single player for me is the story. It's not really well acted, and it tries to so hard to be Call of Duty, while at the same time tries to hide it with some badly written Sum of All Fears type of stuff. It's at the same time a post-Cold War intrigue, while keeping the same Tom Clancy Cold War vibes, but from the discount store. If, you know, Tom Clancy was drugged up and held to a chair, that is. It serves as a way to introduce the big bad of Battlefield 6, which is Pax Armata, or nowadays it should be called the Big Grey, because nowadays we need some sort of grayscale in morality to make it more realistic and empathetic, or whatever, I guess. Which means for me that the campaign is largely inconsequential. It's almost totally forgettable, bar a few set pieces, namely on the first mission, and then the drop to Gibraltar. They even try to do a ghost. And speaking of that, don't ghost me, leave me a like and subscribe. Thanks. So, on to the actual gameplay, the multiplayer, where I think all of us will spend most of our time with. If you experience the beta, the launch game is very similar, but opens up the gameplay. There's a few perks here and there and peppers it with a few new modes. I say mostly the same, because honestly, the most popular maps are still the ones that were available in the beta, adding then Project Firestorm, a Battlefield 3 original. From the actual game, the variety of maps, or in reality, the lack of thereof, is for me the biggest issue with the game right now. The maps are mostly a twofer. Either everything is Gibraltar-like, or either everything is a desolate landscape with really nothing to hold them together. There's no landmarks like the metro, the skyscraper of Siege of Shanghai, the streets of Paris, the islands of Parasol Storm. There's no Levolution, there's nothing of the likes. And the map I dislike the most, the Brooklyn one, ends up being the most iconic of them all because of the bridge. Kind of ironic. And I think a few more maps are coming, but they really need to feel iconic. I still wish to go back to Carkent anyways. But that's the maps. The gameplay part has been calibrated somewhat to better adjust to player feedback. So let's start with the movement part of gameplay, because it's one of the first things I noticed. I think the movement is a bit more paced down from the beta, but not too much. It's not trying to capture the Call of Duty players, and at the same time, it's not trying to alienate them. It still has some slides and dolphin jumps to keep mobility high without being a game controlled by movement kids. Every action has a consequence, so sliding exists, but it's not something you spam for advantage. Jumping back to back slows you down. Shooting mid-slide tanks your accuracy, but it's a great way to clear close-quarter battles with a shotgun or a fast-shooting weapon, especially in CQB heavy maps. The developers clearly wanted to move away from twitchy movement and get back to something that rewards positioning and timing. And also, you can equip the knife to run faster, because everybody knows you run faster with the knife.
Everyone runs faster with a knife!
It's more thoughtful, it's more methodical. You can still make fast, skillful plays, but you're not breakdancing your way through a war zone. And honestly, it fits Battlefield's DNA post-Battlefield 3 really well. How about the gunplay? There's no changes from the beta, at least not that I could find. The recoil is still controllable, but it's not laser-like. The shotgun continues to be an absolute menace, and the submachine gun can dominate close quarters as well. Honestly, between the beta and now, not really much has changed in terms of flavor of shooting, which is a good thing because I think the beta was already in a pretty decent place. The customization is pretty much the same with more things, but there's some stats Tarkovification of sorts. I kinda wish that you could make different types of builds work instead of just trying to fill the stats at the top to 100%. It's not all flawless, of course. Some players still mention inconsistent time to kill moments, or in my case, I'm still being killed after already in cover. But that is certainly more about the netcode than anything else, and also something left over after the second weekend of the beta. I think for this time around, opening up the whole roster of main weapons to every class, but giving extra perks for class-specific weapons was actually a great idea. It mixes a lot of the viability of each class. It changes the flavor of gameplay by providing players with more options to support the team, or to cause mayhem, or to further align classes with other battlefields. For example, support now has light machine guns, just like they did in Battlefield Bad Company 2, but if you want to run assault rifles or carbines to keep in line to Battlefield 3 or 4, it is possible. Like it is possible to go to games with a closed class system. To be fair, I'm not seeing many classes with different weapon types, not a lot of people are using them, but to be fair, I'm sure new metas will be discovered, and then there will be an explosion of different loadouts. Another great change has really to be the removal of the spawn beacon from the recon class, and it is a great move because that was used and abused by camper snipers instead of serving as a way to move the squad closer to the line of contact. That was done by very aggressive snipers. And we can't also talk about the classes without talking about the new unlocking system with missions. It's not really a new thing to the series to have weapons or gadgets locked behind levels or achievements to be made. And what's different here is that these objectives are a bit more layered and overall more complex, with multiple objectives for each unlock, and some of them require a completely different unlock to be done. These objectives will take most time to do, which, adding to the gun masteries, it's going to take a lot of time to unlock more ends of game gear, therefore unlocking a few more John Battlefield strategies much later in the game. Performance-wise, Battlefield 6 is in a surprising good spot. For a modern, large-scale shooter, on the PC, even lower range setups can hit solid frame rates if you balance the settings right. The Frostbite engine still pushes great visuals, big maps, detailed destruction, and all of that chaos, but without melting your hardware. The devs leaned on upscale tech like DLSS and FSR, which keeps things smoother for older GPUs, but even without that, it's still able to keep things smoothly. I'm really glad they ditched ray tracing altogether. In my opinion, for a first-person shooter like this, it's really not needed. But while I'm talking about graphics, I do wish it was a little more like Battlefield 1 or 3 in art direction, without leaning too much in the filters, no matter the colors, piss or blue. I would say that for the community as a whole, the reaction has been mostly positive, if not outright positive. Players are calling it a genuine comeback for the series. People appreciate the return to grounded gunplay, the improved pacing, and just having a Battlefield that feels like a Battlefield again. In short, Battlefield 6 finally feels stable, polished, and worth playing at launch. I had a great time playing with friends, giggling like little kids over stupid shenanigans or gunplay moments. I'm really glad it came out alright, but it still misses some map variety and set pieces. But what do you think?